Let me gather my thoughts for a minute. I feel like I have a hangover from these debates. Either that or they're just toxic and they just make me feel like crap. Probably both. Okay, so night 2 of the Democratic debates was last night. I'm going to go over my notes that I scribbled down in real time for you. So they could be a little sloppy, a little not cohesive, but I'm going to do my best to make them cohesive and give you an idea of my thoughts last night during the debates. And then after that, I will grade them, whether it was weak, moderately weak, strong, very strong, etc. at the end of my deduction. Okay. So Bernie Sanders, we'll start with Bernie. Bernie came out strong for Medicare for all. Healthcare is a human right, free college, taxing Wall Street, Green New Deal. Every policy that he proposes is paid for because they keep bringing up this question, how are you going to pay for it? And every time Bernie says, we have it paid for. It's going to be paid for. This is not some pie-in-the-sky fever dream that the MSM and right-wingers like to bring up all the time. How are you going to pay for it? It is paid for. Like with Bernie's latest, what was it? The student debt relief of $1.6 trillion will be paid with a Wall Street speculation tax, to give you an example. Over a 10-year period, $1.6 trillion will be paid off with a Wall Street speculation tax. So just stop it with these stupid right-wing talking points. How are you going to pay for it? We only ask this question when it's something we need for the people. Always remember that. When it's endless war, they'll never bring it up. Sick of it. Anyways, all right, loosening up here. I'm catching some of Bernie's anger last night, and I want to talk about Bernie's anger. Bernie was extra angry. He was extra cranky, and it actually kind of concerned me because I was like, wow, he almost seems unhinged. And I know he's trying to convey a message when he does that. I know it's strategic when he does that. But I don't know how that's going to go over with a lot of people. I just worry about that. So let me know your thoughts. Was Bernie Sanders unhinged? Was he teetering on the brink? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, Bernie also stressed diversity as strength. I like that. Abortion as a constitutional right. That was great framing. I love that framing. He said, quote, I will never appoint any judge that isn't 100% for Roe versus Wade. He said something about rotating judges on the Supreme Court. I have never heard this before. This sounded interesting to me. So usually Supreme Court nominees have a lifetime appointment. But he talked about rotating judges. So I thought that was interesting. I need to hear more about that. And extra bonus points, he was the only candidate who brought up Yemen. He's the only candidate who brought up the genocide that's going on in Yemen. So Bernie gets points there. No one else talked about that. He talked about his D rating from the NRA. He was very proud of that. He promoted universal background checks, and he wants to close the gun show loophole and some other things. And his performance was strong. It was a strong, solid, maybe a little too strong in some areas, a little bit too angry in some areas, but overall a strong performance. He had to have. If I had to make a top 3 of who won the debates, Bernie would be in the top 3. Moving on. Joe Biden. Let's see. Joe Biden talked about repealing Trump tax cuts. He spoke out against Medicare for all, and I even think he went after Bernie for Medicare for all, which is just ridiculous. He talked about reuniting families at the border. He talked about how he passed the Brady Bill. It was one of his accomplishments in the Obama years. He advocated for smart guns, biometrics. I like this idea. He was the only one who talked about smart guns or promoted it. But he said something that just blew my mind in the worst way. He said gun manufacturers are not the problem. He said gun manufacturers are the problem. The NRA is not. Rest in peace, Joe. You blew it. So I would grade Joe Biden a weak performance. He did not do any favors for himself. All right, moving on. Buttigieg, he opened up his first sentence in Spanish because he likes to pander. He promoted a $15 minimum wage. He promoted college debt relief, but I don't think he was for free college entirely. He talked about Medicare for all who want it. He talked about a carbon tax and dividend for when it came to climate change and stuff like that. I didn't like that. Background checks on guns. And just a side note, Buttigieg was landing his monologues. He was landing very good monologues, very cohesive monologues for the most part, and I can tell it was connecting with the audience. And this is like one of this guy's biggest threats, is that he is an excellent speaker. He's excellent at conveying his message, so whether you like him or not, he is a threat in that capacity, so don't undermine him. Buttigieg actually called out right-wing Christian hypocrites for the treatment of the children at the border. You know, he talked about how right-wingers are usually Christians, and he's just called them out for being total hypocrites in promoting these abusive tactics used at the border on children. So I like that. That was probably the highlight for me. So I'll give him moderately strong. He did good. He would probably be in the top 5 if I made a top 5. Moving on, Gillibrand. Kirsten Gillibrand. Very progressive language. She had a lot of populist angles. She was poised, strong talk. She was looking for a fight. She was looking to interject. She was looking to interrupt. She was really looking for the fight. She came prepared for that in that respect, so I'll give her credit there. She talked about corrupt capitalism, pro-Medicare for all. Public option is the fastest way to get to single payer, in her opinion. Comprehensive immigration reform with a path to citizenship for 11 million immigrants. I like that. Anti-for-profit prisons. She spoke out against that. She spoke out against Washington corruption. She spoke about publicly funded elections, getting dark money out of politics. Like I said, she came out like a populist. She came out like a progressive. She came out looking for a fight. I'm actually scoring Gillibrand pretty high here. I'm going to call her moderately strong. And, you know, whether I believe it or not is another question. But last night she had a strong showing. She would probably be in the top 5. All right, Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang talked about his flagship proposal of $1,000 a month, UBI, basic income for every American of the age of 18 and older. He talked about Amazon not paying their taxes and destroying Main Street America. He talked about his value-added tax, which is the way he would pay for his UBI. He talked about a trickle-up economy. He talked about creating millions of jobs via UBI. So a lot of these are classic Andrew Yang talking points. He was able, even though he didn't say much, he was able to convey some of his core messages. He actually had some stronger words on foreign issues. He was strong against Russia for hacking our elections. And he said that China, the tariffs and the trade wars, and how he had a little monologue about how they're counterproductive, and he basically called Donald Trump out on that. So I like that. He's balancing his economic range with some foreign policy angles. Overall, I'm going to give Andrew Yang, unfortunately, a weak performance, and not because I don't like him. I really like Andrew Yang. He just did not have a good showing. Someone said his mic was cut off. That's a whole nother situation. I don't even know if that's real or not. But he was very quiet. He was very meek, and he's a very quiet, meek man for the most part. And it just didn't work out for him. I know he's going to learn from it, and I know he's going to show up in Detroit and do a lot better. And he's going to pivot where he needs to pivot. So, Michael Bennet, human oatmeal. That's all I got. Don't believe me? Moving on. John Hickenlooper is a Republican. Moving on. Kamala Harris. Kamala. She was poised, She spoke like a populist. She had tough talk. She spoke like a unifier, as a unifier. Called out Trump at every chance she could. She called out Trump. She was landing her monologues. The crowd was responding to her. Topics that she covered: changing the tax codes, tax credits for middle-income families, reinstating DACA. She called out Biden for working with segregationists on their legislation. She basically called climate change a climate crisis, pro-Green New Deal, pro-Paris Agreement. She called Donald J. Trump our largest security risk. Okay. She won the debates if I had to pick a winner. She just came out strong. She was the strongest, most prepared, came out guns a-blazing. Okay. She did not miss a beat. She won the debate, in my opinion. Okay. Swalwell. I'm just gonna skip it. Marianne Williamson, she had a little rant about pro-Green New Deal. Let's see. She framed the border security issues as kidnapping, like the American government is kidnapping. It is state-sponsored child abuse, and Trump is attacking our moral fabric, our moral core. Not many highlights there. She needs to get into, my opinion is she needs to have more policy talk. She wants to come from different angles. I appreciate that. I appreciate she has different ideas, but she has to land some policy substance first before she can dig into that. So I hope she gets that straightened out. But I would say it was moderately weak. Okay, but once again, anybody who's doing weak can do better. They can learn from this and show up in Detroit next month and totally kill it. So, anyways. Let me know your thoughts about the debates. What were your thoughts about any candidates? Anything I missed? Anything you want to talk about? Let me know. Like, share, subscribe, and click the bell.